AITA for leaving my sister and her new husband stranded on their honeymoon because they wouldn't stop pranking me? I, 28M, have always had a complicated relationship with my sister, 26F, and her wedding and honeymoon really drove that home for me. Let me explain, and maybe you all can tell me if I'm being unreasonable here. So, my sister has always been the prankster in the family. Growing up, it was one thing after another. From hiding my school stuff to putting food coloring in my drinks, she always thought it was hilarious to mess with me. I'll admit, I usually went along with it. I figured it was harmless, and I didn't want to be the stick-in-the-mud older brother. But things started crossing a line as we got older. Pranks got bigger, sometimes embarrassing, sometimes actually inconvenient, but I usually just brushed it off. Flash forward to her wedding. She asked if I'd drive her and her new husband to the cabin they'd rented for their honeymoon. The cabin was a few hours away, and since she didn't want to rent a car, she figured I could be their chauffeur, and in her words, it'd be a way for me to contribute without spending money on a gift. I'm not made of cash, so I thought it sounded like a fair deal. But then, the wedding day happened, and honestly, the prank started getting to me even then. I was part of the wedding party, and she made me wear a ridiculous pair of glasses for a few photos. Guess what? Every picture had them. I even got pied in the face during the reception for laughs. So, by the time the honeymoon road trip came around, I was already feeling a bit exhausted by her humor. As soon as they got into the car, it was like prank mode went from 0 to 100. First, they accidentally switched my GPS to French. Not a big deal, but I had to pull over to fix it. Then, they hit my phone while I was pumping gas, and I spent a good 10 minutes looking around the car. When I finally found it in the glove compartment, they were in the back seat, practically crying with laughter. "Come on, man. Can't you take a joke?" they kept saying. But it was a 3-hour drive, and I was getting frustrated, especially because it was just non-stop from there. The radio stunts were next, flipping to random static and bizarre stations. I'd change it back, and 2 minutes later, it was some creepy talk show or foreign music. "Just relax," they kept saying. "It's supposed to be funny." But it was hard to enjoy when I was constantly on edge, wondering what was coming next. When we finally made it to the cabin, I was more than ready to say goodbye. But they wouldn't let me leave right away. "Come inside, check out the view," they insisted. And look, I love my sister, so I thought, fine, I'll go in, have a snack, and then I'll be out of here. I went inside, they showed me the view, gave me a drink, and all seemed well for about 5 minutes. But when I got ready to leave, my keys were gone. I asked them, "Hey, did you see where I put my keys?" But they just gave me these innocent looks and said, "Maybe they're in the couch cushions?" So I start looking. I must have spent nearly 45 minutes turning that cabin upside down while they just sat there practically rolling on the floor laughing. When I finally found my keys taped under the table, I lost it a little and said, "I'm out. This has gone way too far." On my way out, they sprayed silly string all over my car. I kid you not. I cleaned that car before the trip, and now it was covered. I yelled back, real mature, but they just laughed harder and said, "Lighten up, dude. You're so uptight." I finally got in my car and started the drive back. It was about an hour, and when I realized something was off, I reached over to the back seat, hoping to grab a water bottle, and found my sister's purse. And right next to it, my brother-in-law's phone. It hit me that they left all their essential stuff in my car. For a moment, I thought about turning around, but I was done. Totally drained, both emotionally and physically. I figured if I went back, it would just be more pranks and more hassle. I wanted nothing more than to be home. They started blowing up my phone. My sister was panicking, saying, "Please, we really need those things. Can you come back?" I explained that I was exhausted and that they could either wait until I was back in town or find another way to get their stuff. I offered to leave their things at a gas station along the route so a friend could pick them up, but they insisted I bring it back personally. At that point, I said, "Sorry, you'll just have to figure something out." They managed to get a friend to drive it to them the next day, and I didn't hear anything until later. Now, my sister's mad. She says I ruined the start of their honeymoon by being too sensitive and not being able to take a joke. She thinks I'm overreacting, that it was all in good fun, and that I made things worse by not bringing their things back immediately. But I can't help feeling like they took it way too far and that they could have respected my limits. So, AITA for leaving them stranded?